What is Boulder? Boulder is a wooden roller coaster located at Liseberg in Gothenburg, Sweden. The ride opened to the public as the world's steepest wooden roller coaster, boasting a drop angled at 70 degrees. At first glance, Boulder looks a little repetitive. It fits into a relatively tight spot at the back of the park, weaving in and out of its own structure, though the ride itself is far from boring. Boulder ranked as one of the world's best wooden roller coasters upon its debut and continues to be highly regarded to this day. Boulder opened to guests for the first time on the 12th of April 2003, however, its history goes back even further. In 1923, Liseberg first opened its doors to guests. Initially, the theme park was a temporary event which coincided with the city's 300th anniversary. One of the attractions built for the event was Bergbanan, a side-friction wooden roller coaster. Like many rides of that era, it featured a brakeman who sat on the train, controlling its speed as it navigated the course. Bergbanan and the park as a whole were a huge success, so much so that the temporary event never closed. Since 1923, Liseberg has evolved rapidly. As technology advanced, new rides came to the park and older ones left. By the late 1980s, Bergbanan was old news. Even though the ride was enjoyed by many of the park's visitors, maintenance costs and space concerns eventually led to its closure in 1987. Liseberg knew that one day they wanted to replace their traditional wooden roller coaster with a new, modern equivalent. And 16 years later, they did just that. Immediately prior to the debut of Boulder, Intamin, a manufacturer of roller coasters, constructed an all-new type of wooden ride. They called it the prefabricated wooden roller coaster, or prefab for short. Whereas traditional wooden roller coasters are built on site, with wood being cut to size by skilled craftsmen, the prefab was different. Its track sections were cut precisely by machines off-site, allowing for it to be slotted together at the park quickly. This not only sped up installation times, but also enabled stronger and therefore taller wooden roller coasters to be built. Colossus opened at Hyde Park in 2001 as the world's first prefabricated wooden roller coaster. Liseberg noticed this new type of ride and began talks with its manufacturer, Intamin. They expressed their desire for a family-orientated coaster which would be accessible for most ages with as much airtime as possible crammed into the space provided. Liseberg marked a rectangular plot of land for the new ride called Boulder's Field. They purchased Intamin's new coaster at the cost of 100 million Swedish krona, roughly $10 million, and shortly after, on the park's 80th anniversary, Boulder opened to guests. It was an instant success. However, the park quickly encountered a problem with the ride. It was too loud. Boulder made guests scream, which caused the park's neighbors to complain. They demanded that Liseberg reduce the noise in some capacity. To resolve the issue, sound barriers and tunnels were placed at specific moments throughout Boulder's layout. These helped to contain the noise, redirecting it back into the park. They also created several head-chopper moments for the ride, enhancing the overall experience. Interestingly, the name of the ride, Boulder, wasn't initially derived from Nordic mythology, rather it was based on Boulder's Field, the land the attraction was built on. Although, 13 years after it opened to guests, Boulder's name would begin to make more sense. In 2016, Liseberg announced their plans to retheme the area surrounding Boulder and construct 2 new rides. Altogether, the new section of the park would become known as Myths and Legends, with each new ride being themed to Norse mythology. For the 2017 season, Liseberg introduced Loki, an Intamin gyro swing. It replaced the park's former pendulum attraction as a new version of the same ride, similar to Bergbanan and Boulder. This was followed by the debut of Valkyria, a B&M dive coaster, in 2018. All 3 rides share Norse mythology-themed names, each with their own story. For example, Valkyria is themed to a Valkyrie, a winged creature who is tasked to bring fallen warriors from Earth to the afterlife. For Boulder and Loki, their themed stories are closely linked. In Norse mythology, Boulder, although invincible, was killed by Loki, the trickster god. As Boulder was beloved by all the gods, they wanted to resurrect him. They traveled to the underworld, where Hel, the goddess of the underworld, agreed to revive Boulder if everything in the world wept for him. Everyone did weep for Boulder, except for a giantess who was believed to be Loki in disguise. As a result, Boulder was unable to return to the living and would remain in the underworld forever. Liseberg describes the ride low-key as being the enemy of their roller coaster Boulder. Both attractions were placed next to each other to allow them to fight. As Loki swings, its gondola comes into close proximity with Boulder. Not only does this provide a cool visual effect from the ground, but gives riders the illusion they'll hit Boulder as they reach the apex of the swing. That's enough about Norse mythology, theming and battling attractions though. The big question is, what does a ride on Boulder actually look like? Firstly, guests enter the cube beneath one of the roller coaster's final hills. Once in the station, visitors then board one of the ride's 2 trains. Each one is made up of 5 cars, which seat guests in 3 rows of 2. This leads to a total of 30 riders per train and a capacity of roughly 1,149 riders per hour. Once ready, visitors leave the station and immediately undergo a 180-degree right-hand turn. They then begin the 36-meter, 118-foot tall climb. At the top, the trains complete a second right-hand turn. As riders begin to glimpse the park from above, they dive towards the ground through the banked first drop. Here, the trains plummet down the 70-degree descent, reaching speeds of up to 90 km per hour, 56 miles per hour in the process. Riders then begin to climb the attraction's first Airtime hill. This leads the trains into a banked, 180-degree turn to the right. Guests climb a second Airtime hill, entering a tunnel at its apex. They then dive back towards the ground, complete another right-hand turn, and enter a series of 2 back-to-back Airtime hills. Riders then navigate the roller coaster's first banked left-hand turn, followed by another Airtime hill enclosed by a tunnel. At this point, the train follows the path of the track above. They enter a right-hand turn, followed by a series of 2 Airtime hills. One last 180-degree left-hand turn sees the trains complete another 2 back-to-back Airtime hills. The ride comes to an end with a final small turn and ascent, which leads visitors into the final brake run. Look, I told you it was a repetitive ride at the beginning. Don't let that put you off though. As mentioned earlier, Liseberg wanted to cram as much airtime as possible into the 68-second ride. Based on the description of the 1,070 meter, 3,510 foot long layout, I think they achieved just that. Overall, Boulder provides a fantastic, smooth ride experience with a whole host of powerful airtime. It's no wonder it quickly became one of the park's star attractions, beloved by both roller coaster enthusiasts and the public alike. In fact, it still ranks highly to this day, gaining the spot of the 14th best wooden roller coaster in the world according to the 2020 Vote Coasters poll. Fortunately for those who do love Boulder, it isn't going anywhere soon. The prefabricated nature of the ride means that Liseberg can swap track pieces as they become worn out. In fact, the park has already been doing this to ensure the ride remains the best it can and will continue to do this for the foreseeable future. Have you ridden Boulder? If so, let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next time. If you like roller coasters and enjoy talking about them with others, why not join our Discord server? We talk about all things roller coasters and theme parks. Just click the I button